Yes, sir.
Hi guys, today we have with us Pankaj, and Pankaj I would say is the first student who have agreed to talk about his percentile and the category. Normally people don't do that. They don't even come on the camera कि मेरे को recording नहीं करना है. So so Pankaj, let's talk about your story. Let's talk about your background, where you from, and or if you want to address the elephant first, because this is very motivating for all the reserved category student. And we start with that part only कि आपका कौन सा कैटेगरी है and why you are so comfortable talking about the category part.
Yeah, so first of all, thank you, sir, for the opportunity. And okay, the category part, I would like to first tell a little bit about myself. My name is Pankaj, and I am a chartered accountant by profession. I am from a very small village in Rajasthan, and currently I stay there. I had a pretty good academic track record since very beginning. I did my elementary education in my village, and then moved to Jodhpur to pursue my secondary and senior secondary. Then after I moved to Ahmedabad to pursue my chartered accountancy, and I did my intermediate and CA final from there. Now the category thing I take it in a very positive way, because this is not something that I had a choice upon. I mean, I did not decide what my category was or who I am supposed to be. I had a choice to whether accept it or let it go. I accepted it because it clearly had benefits. However, I would also say that just because I had been given category, it gives me a silver lining that if I did not have this category reservation criteria, then I would have probably scored more and would have gotten into some nice B school. But now, since I have category, I have that this little soft area available where I can operate, and I can get into some nice college, performing a little lesser than other general categories.
Exactly. This is what I like to add to all the reservation student. Ki reservation is actually blocking you from performing well.
Yes, right? It is.
तो जब आप प्रिपेयर कर रहे हो तो भूल जाओ, डोंट थिंक अबाउट एनीथिंग एल्स, जस्ट थिंक दैट यू आर अ स्टूडेंट एंड यू हैव टू स्कोर 99 परसेंटाइल, दैट्स इट. और सब अपने आप अपने जगह पे आके विल फॉल फ्लैट. यस, तो व्हेन दिस कैट का प्रिपरेशन स्टार्टेड?
Yes, so I joined classes in Ahmedabad in 2019 November. However, I had a full-time job at that point of time. So I was working with a government authority, so I could not actually attend classes for first 6 or 7 months. And then I had a conversation with
ये मेरे को पॉइंट नोट करवाना सबको कि the day you join the classes and the day you actually start your preparation is never same. There's always a gap. और आपके केस में 6 months का gap आ गया.
But actually the thing is that you have to be aware about what you are trying to do as far as CAT is concerned. So what I did was I took a mentorship from my coaching institute. We had a teacher assigned, and also I took help of lots of YouTube videos. Like I even watched your videos at that point of time, and I got to know what are the things that I have to do, and I started working on those things from very starting. Then the dedicated slogging part started much later because of the job part. And however, I had already informed everyone at the job that I will be appearing for the CAT. So then of course I dedicatedly studied for minimum 3 months for CAT, and with that the work also had to be managed. So yeah, but I think it is very important that how you manage yourself, even when you are on a job or when you are alone and you are not having anything to do. It is very important to effectively deploy some of your time into anything, any little thing that is pertaining to your exams, because at the last it ends up, everything ends up.
Exactly. So which date you would be, like, you joined in November, but you became serious in which month?
I'll say August mid, I think, because I had a call from my coaching institutes, and they said that I have not attended any classes. So I'd always been more in the favor of self-study. I joined classes because I needed some of the guidance and mentorship. However, everyone has a different path. They should be feeling very easy in deciding which way is for them to go. Yeah, because everyone have different strengths, I believe.
Right. Hello.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. All right, great. So August mid. So probably again we'll say August 15 is the day to actually become
Yeah,
serious in starting studying.
yeah,
तो
yeah,
मतलब अभी जो लोग ये वीडियो देखेंगे, अगर आप अगस्त से भी शुरू करते हो तो आईएम की कॉल आ सकती है,
yeah,
राइट?
definitely.
यस, दिस इज व्हाट आई एम ट्राइंग टू से यार, दिस इज। और प्रॉब्लम क्या यार, अगर मैं बोलूंगा ना अरे ये तो इनका तो काम है मोटिवेट करना, वो फैक्ट है यार। दिस इज इनफैक्ट यू आर द थर्ड पर्सन आई एम इंटरव्यूइंग इन दिस ईयर हु हैव कन्वर्टेड आई एम ए और बी और सी with starting from August. Yeah. So, all right. So now let's start with your journey. August में आके आपने क्या किया? So if I want to start my CAT preparation, what advice will you will be giving me? पहली तो advice मैं आपको मैं देना चाहूंगा सबको कि भाई अगस्त तक वेट मत करो कि अरे इसने अगस्त में किया तो हम भी अगस्त में करेंगे. That's not the right way.
Yeah, definitely not,
Start
definitely
ASAP.
not. Yeah, so I believe that the best way to go about preparation is by first understanding the subject. Uh, when I started giving mocks, and I realized that CAT is actually not people think it is. It is not about the content because it is not a subjective paper. So let's for example VARC. So if you have, let's say, studied thousands of books, but that doesn't necessarily mean that you will score good in VARC, because it is not that kind of an exam. It is an exam of how well you are able to approach that particular set of questions in that limited period of time. So it is very important to understand the nature of the paper, and it is very important to address whatever weaknesses you have once you start understanding how the paper is and how do you because there are three sections, and uh, in CA final, I had 8 subjects. Everyone who does CA knows this. Is they have 8 subjects, and exams goes on for 16 days, 3 hours each. So the main thing that you learn from these kind of things is that how do you handle yourself in these situations? Because there is a lot of energy from all the sides, lot of mental pressure, but you have to deviate yourself from that pressure and then focus more on the exam part. Because exam, if you take it as some very extraordinary happening in your life, you'll always get too much worried about it. However, if you treat it as something that is a normal part of your life and you are just trying to build yourself towards doing something nice about that, then I think you will be able to better address your exams in general.
Exactly. Exactly. Okay. Now, how many mocks you might have given along with this journey? Total mocks.
So like there was this website. Other than the normal online websites, of course, the coaching people gave some websites. So there were two kinds of mocks. First were those that you can stay at home and give. Those were sectionals and also complete mocks. However, there were some mocks around 25 to 30 mocks that you had to go to the classes and then give in a regulated environment. So all in all, I'll say I'll have minimum, including both and sections, I'll have given, I think, 50 around. In total, I would
60.
have given 50, and out of which around 50, and out of which
50.
around 25 to 30 were the regulated ones that used to happen in the class.
So out of this 50 mocks, so you were giving almost a mock every alternate. हफ्ते में 2 या 3 mocks you were giving, 3 mocks every week, like.
Yeah. Because in end, it's really packed. The schedule is really packed in the end about, and they are very considerate of how whether you are coming or not. So yeah.
Right. Okay. Now I have one question. Like normally you joined in December, but then you became serious in August. So what was that turning point? What was the tipping point? तुम्हें लगा कि नहीं यार बस अभी मेरे को करना ही करना है.
Uh, First of all, when you see the index, then what I used to do was I made some lines index के exact सामने, and I used to tick whichever chapters I had done. Now that used to appear as a chart, and I could very clearly identify that how much is pending. So as the day passes, you start realizing that okay, a lot of things are pending and a lot of things that are going to take up some time. I was not good in quant, so which means that I had to give lots of efforts and time into doing quant. So like as the months pass, and the work will go on in your company or wherever you work, the work will go on with or without you. I mean, you might be in some very important position, however you will always have to make arrangements that how you can spare some time from there and dedicate some time in your studies. So as the days pass, you realize when you open your books and you see the index portion, the contents part, you know that your work is not done yet. So I mean, it takes a conversation with yourself. You cannot lie from yourself. If you know something is not done, then this is not done. You can't just say that, yeah, exam mein nahi aayega, yeah, this is very difficult. You have to do it. You have to do it. There is no way around it. So I think it's more of self-realization. A lot of introspection is needed as far as preparation is concerned. And I'm always of the believer that you do not have to put in 8 hours every day. You have to put in 5 effective hours. So that will that kind of thing will go a long way in helping.
Right, exactly. So now, what things would you recommend? Like, if anybody starting the preparation now, so suppose you start the preparation in the month of August, या May, या June. So,
Yes, sir.
where you
Yes,
think with the initially क्या करना चाहिए? What's the first step
sir.
kind of thing?
Okay, so first step is everyone has some kind of module, be it from their coaching, so they must have ordered it online. And let's say there are 2 exercises in one module. So there is this very simple method. You start from exercise 1 and you start question number 1, 2, 3. You do markings. You do 3 types of marking, that is A, B, and C. A are the questions that you must do again because those are the difficult ones and you needed some help. B are the questions that you do not need to solve again, but you should take a look at it just in case there are some issues with it. C are the questions that you are able to solve very quickly and you know that even if these questions appear into exam paper, I'll be able to crack them. What marking does is that it eliminates 50% of the content that you do not need to do. So when you are solving the first time, you are working towards clearing your concept and making a concrete understanding of everything. And then you move on and then you start with A and B again. One thing very important is that what students do and what other people do, and what I used to do was that I did something, then I'll forget it for the month. And then I'll revise it again when I'll be revising the whole subject. It doesn't work like that. Our memory is limited because there is lots of information from lots of sources. So what we have to do is, if you do, let's say 3 or 4 quant chapters in a week from Monday to Friday, then in Saturday, Sunday, you must revise category A and B questions of those 4 chapters. Once you are done with the second revision, then means that at least 60-70% concepts are in your brain. Once you have those basic understanding, then you will be able to crack even questions that are of higher level. VARC is practice. VARC, you must have to learn the questions that you have that you will not attend. You will have to understand what are the questions that you can do. There are questions which I did not know halfway through my mocks that there are some questions in which there is no negative mark, which I realized much later. So you must be fully aware about your paper pattern. It is very important because the number of questions that come out of which, I think I am always of the believer that they are not making paper to fail you. They are making paper to test you. So which means there must be necessarily questions that you can do. So now your part is to that you must prepare for those questions. And I mean, in some of the cutoffs, let's say logical reasoning, are more than 40 marks, there is cutoff of, I think, 95 percentile or something. Because they are just asking you to attain 50% of the marks. So I do not think they are asking for that much. I'm not saying it because I'm saying it because this is how it is. So I think go from basic concepts, make pointers, highlight everything, make your book red, blue, whatever you want. Just make it in a way in which you can remember it. And then once you remember it, I think you will be good to go. And you must revise it at least 3 to 4 times. If you have not revised, then this is not going to make any sense.
Right. Yesterday, I think this week only I made a video that in quant, if you just tick mark every chapter, if you just tick mark every question, solve करके, मतलब make it color red green, you are clearing the cutoff for IIM Ahmedabad. Simple logic. Or
Yeah,
we'll
I
not talk
mean,
about IIM Ahmedabad
it's
today
very
because you
important.
not got the IIM Ahmedabad ka call. So we'll not talk about IIM Ahmedabad. Sorry. I don't want to touch your sad side. कि IIM का call नहीं आया. Okay, before I ask you the next question, I'll ask the question to public, those who are going to watch the video. Okay, which one will you recommend him? I am Bangalore or I am Calcutta? And why? I want the reason as well. Why would you recommend him to join I am Bangalore or I am Calcutta? So by the time they will post, now we want your answer. What is your
My
take?
answer. Okay, so the target was always to, I had like 7 or 8 colleges in my list. And Fortunately, I got shortlisted into most of them and converted most of them. So I always had a choice to make. Now, people say finance is very good in Calcutta. I know finance is really good in Calcutta, but I also know that once you go into one of top three and you are good at your studies, you can make big in any stream you want to. Second thing, one thing that is not given enough credit is how your family behaves around you, because it doesn't matter how old you are or how big you are. If you have a family, you have a parents, then they will always have a choice in their mind. Some cities they feel safe about, some cities they do not feel safe about, and that is a very important factor in deciding which college you have to go. Fortunately, I had the choice, and I got into IIM Bangalore, and parents were very comfortable with IIM Bangalore. So that was the choice, and that is where I'm getting to go. So I'm very happy with it. But yeah, if it were not IIM Bangalore, I would have been to IIM Calcutta, solely because it is very famous for finance.
Super. And you said you had around 7, 8 colleges in target. Can you name all the colleges and which one you converted?
Yeah. So I had IIM, of course, the 6 IIMs. Then there was FMS, and I had been shortlisted for IIFT. So I appeared for IIFT interview also. However, the result is not out yet, so I don't know about that. Other than that, I think I had which college did I apply? I did not give that.
यार भगवान करे सबको ऐसा
Yeah, so
दिन
I
आए कि
think
दे डोंट इवन रिमेम्बर कहाँ से कॉल आई है इतने बड़े हो जाओ कि अभी याद हो रहा है कितने अकाउंटों में कितना पैसा रखा वही नहीं पता काइंड ऑफ थिंग हो गया आपके साथ
actually, I did not give any other exams. Like I gave CAT and IIFT only. So, and I think yeah, and FMS. So I think 7 colleges.
7 colleges. And out of them you got all calls.
Except for Ahmedabad.
Ahmedabad you got all calls, right?
I did not get a call from. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, let's talk about the interview experience now. Anywhere you felt like it was like edgy interview, very unique kind of interview experience at anywhere? I'm Bangalore or I'm Ahmedabad, I'm Bangalore or I'm Calcutta.
Yeah. So there are two instances that I would like to share, and those are of very different kind of experiences. First of all, in all the 6 or 7 interviews that I have been in, no one ever asked me why MBA.
Okay, surprisingly.
Surprisingly, no one ever asked me why MBA. No one ever asked me what were my weaknesses. I remember I had 3 interviews lined up in IIM in Mumbai. So I went to Mumbai, and the first one was IIM Bangalore. So IIM Bangalore interview was really to the point, and it was nice. They talked about business, they talked about investment banking, about my work ex, and it was really how I expected they would have asked something else, but they did not, and it went smooth. So I was confident that okay, IIM Bangalore seems to be a good possibility right now. Then IIM Kozhikode happened. So half of the interview was very centered towards RBI and the monetary rates economy part, and I had prepared for that. So I very confidently applied. I did not give answers to 1 or 2 questions. I even asked for a glass of water because I was feeling thirsty, and it was a good panel. They seemed a bit serious also, but I was like, okay, they are panel, so they must be looking for something. Then the interview took a turn, and they asked me about history. Now I am particularly not good at history. I'm actually bad at history, and they asked me to name 5 sultanates in India and their rulers. They asked me about Indira Gandhi. They asked me about capital of Jordan, of Myanmar, who came from Myanmar. They asked me about pharma companies because I said that I'm not good at history. So asked me about business. And it was a really random, and I would say of all my interviews, it wasn't it wasn't the best of my interviews. I mean, I had done better in other ones. I still converted Kozhikode, and that made one thing very clear, that if they were looking for a guy who knows everything, they would probably go to Google and search it. They are not there to check your general knowledge. I think they are there to check how do you answer them when you do not know some questions, or how do you talk with them, or how do you discuss certain aspects, because they tried to grill me on certain topics. However, I knew if I don't know something, then I don't know something. I can't do anything more. And I said them straight faces, I do not know it. So yeah. One incident from IIM Calcutta, it was very interesting. I was 9th in the panel, and so my waiting time was around five and a half hours. Went there at 12. Interview started at 1. I went in at around 6:30, and I knew
Okay.
everyone was tired. There were 3 interviews, one ma'am and 2 sirs. So it was a good interview. They asked a bit about taxation and about books. I had written that I'm into books and poetry. I recited a poetry also. Talked about movies because I said them that I was into movies. And in the end, they asked me that if I wanted to ask anything. And I had this question since long, and I thought I would ask it someday to at least one of the interviews. I asked them that there is this whole industry outside uh, which operates on teaching students how to appear into interviews.
Mm.
Now guidance is important, however I have never been into one of these courses, because I believe that how can someone else tells me how to explain myself to someone else? Because if you know yourself, then I think you are always in a better situation to explain yourself to anyone. So surprisingly, the interviewers, all of them said that when a student comes into the room, they can see through the student, and once you start speaking, they know that how much he has prepared on strengths, weaknesses, how much he or she has recited why MBA questions, or any those of the difficult questions. So they said that the more honest interviewee is, the better the interview is always. It doesn't matter if you know something or you do not know something. Interviews are not there to check your general knowledge. They are there to check your personality. And
True.
I think that was the essence of the whole interview. I mean, interviews are supposed to be fluid conversations. If you take those interviews as sessions where they really pierce your body, then I don't think it is going to work from them or you either.
What I feel while talking to you, because your personality is so strong, plus your work experience, plus CA, I think they all these combination was the reason why they didn't ask you for MBA. Why MBA? Because your talks are
Maybe,
clear
maybe.
that you are a kind of MBA person. You are already half, half MBA, I would say, before you
Thank
even
you,
join the college.
thank you, sir.
Okay, so
It might be, yeah.
yeah. My next question would be, what would you advise? So I have started a Tuesday session, Wednesday's session, that every Wednesday I'll talk about the reserved category students. So we'll talk to them about the cutoffs, about various things from the exams point of view, obviously. So what advice you would like to give to category students?
Okay, and I think people are going to hate me for saying this. People of my community, people of SC category or any reserved category. I am part of one of the groups that was formed on this channel, WhatsApp group, and I regularly received updates from there. Now there are some brilliant and hardworking students in
कौन
there
सा
also.
ये सुपर 30 ग्रुप थे कौन से ग्रुप में थे आप
I see IIM call holders. I
I'm
think
call
you're
okay
also
right
part of
right
it.
right right right
Ayush, yeah.
right right
So, and I have been reading those messages, and since the shortlist have been out, and I feel like this is something more of, students are getting held back because there is reservation, and it should not be like this. I mean, not in 100% cases, but I would say there is a minor percentage of students who can do so much, who are so talented. I mean, if you not everyone has financial burden. I mean, there are some students for whom joining is necessary this year. Right? For example, I do not have any financial burden. So if I did not score good, I did not have reservation, I would have appeared next year and tried to score more and get into some nice B school. And I think that kind of thought process needs to be there for everyone, whether you are of a reserved category or not. And they're not gonna like it, people of community, but thing is not everyone, at least to a minor part of the students, because um, it is hindering their performance. They can do so good, and so talented students doing jobs, engineers, even from various fields, and yet just because reservation there and come percentile pay, they are getting shortlisted into some average college, and they are going there when they have this opportunity that they can do much better and go into a much better college. And I think that will ultimately make more difference. Now, of course, every attempt comes with an opportunity cost, but you have to make a good choice that is faithful with yourself also and with your society also, because we have a responsibility towards it. So yeah, I think it is important. I know I scored less and I got into a college, but if I did not get a call or did not get an admission, that I would try again and definitely get into this year or maybe next year. When I was in CA IPCC, I had several attempts in second group, but I cleared that, and I cleared my CA final in first attempt at 20, and there was no reservation there. And I'm talking about myself. There are so many stories out there about people of reserved category doing extraordinary things. However, somewhere this whole reservation thing is, I mean, this is an opportunity for creating something good, and people are taking it for granted because they have it available, so they won't even try enough to score at least how much they should. And I don't like that actually. So yeah, I'm going to get a lot of hate because of it. But
no, it's not. It's no. This is very good thing. Yeah, you have said. Like, see, this category certificate is not going to help you to prepare. Is not going to help you in the MBA as well, in the interview as well. The only thing it's going to help you is to help you lower the cutoff.
Yeah, exactly.
So you should, while preparing, you should think yourself to be open. Yeah, target 99 target करोगे तब जाके 95 आएगा. If you target only 90 percentile, साला 80 आएगा फिर.
This is true, and this is what happens, sir. Actually, this is what happens. I mean, everyone knows it. Everyone knows it.
No, yeah, you have, trust me, helped me change my perception as well. Even I was thinking that only कि अरे हमें कम ही तो करना है तो हम कम ही target करो. But this is a very good advice, yeah, to everyone के boss. जब तक result नहीं आता तब तक think yourself to be an open category student. Try to target 99 percentile. Yes, exactly.
Because you sit with normal students. If someone is sitting beside you, you would never know if that is a reserved category student or that is a general open category. You don't know. So if you are sitting in the same place studying with same people, then how come you are targeting lower than your classmates? I mean, that should not be there just because you have reserved category certificate.
Superb. So thank you, yaar. Thank you, Pankaj, for coming online and talking to us. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. It was a pleasure. Thank you.
Same here. All the best.
Thank you.